All right. Hello, everybody. It's really good to see you. There's been a little internet trickery going on here, and since we're kind of late getting on, but I'm hoping that you're having a good week, that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, you're getting into your um, routine of what December looks like for you. And I'm just grateful that you're here. And today I have a special guest on that I want you to meet because, the holidays can be very tricky and hard to get through and emotionally challenging. And so I invited my friend, Dr. Constance Clancy, to be on with me. And she is a holistic psychotherapist, and she's had over 30 years of practice and is loving and caring and very, very in tune with this emotional side of our lives, and works with people all the time on that. And just a little like background with her, she reached out to me. What was it, Connie? A couple years ago?
At least a year and a half ago.
Yeah, yeah. When I was doing my live, and she had a question about her dog Archie, and that's how we met. He was the official like little networker, which all animals are actually. I mean, cause they cause people to meet, our paths to cross, and it's just amazing. We don't ever have to do anything. It's just very magical. But she had a question because Archie was getting older and having some struggles, and you were concerned about going on the cruise with James Van Prague. And it
Yes.
so happened I was going on that cruise too. So that's how we met. And, you know, got the feeling that he would be okay during this time when you were gone. And so that's how we started our connection. And since then, Archie has made his transition. And when was it? It's not too long ago.
May of
Okay.
24.
Yeah, yeah, I knew it was recent. I couldn't remember the month exactly. So, with our animals, the grief piece is powerful. Grief in general is powerful. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. And first of all, I just want to say hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Tammy, for having me on, and I'm glad you're here. We have a lot to cover today.
We do. We really do. So as people come into the room finally, I'm really glad to see you all because it was like, wonder if we're going to get on today. We'll see. Hi, Susie. It's good to see you. And Claire, thank you for being here. Um, I've been thinking about this grief piece, and I work with people a lot with their animals on grief,
Yes.
and have had my own journey with that. I don't know if we ever stop journeying, through it. I know for me, with the hurricane that came through, we can think things are picking back up, life's moving on, and all of a sudden get hit with a wave. So, Connie, would you say that grief isn't linear?
Absolutely. It's not linear, and it's inevitable because while we're here on this earth, we're all going to experience grief. And whether it be a pet, a partner, a parent, a friend, no matter who it is, we're going to feel a wide range of emotions. And this grief, it has no timeline. It can go on for really forever because we don't get over a loss of that magnitude, whether it be our beautiful pet companion or a loved one. It's very real, and we go through a range of emotions. And one of the reasons Tammy and I wanted to do this show together is because we're in it, I guess, holiday season. And with those range of emotions we have in the holidays, anything from joy to frustration to high expectations to loneliness to sadness, you have grief on top of that compiled together, and it can be just excruciating. It can be brutal. So, grief really never leaves us. However, grief is healing. And we have ways that we can learn to navigate the grief and help us because we're here. Our loved ones may be on the other side, but they're very close to us. And we'll
Yes.
delve more into that as well.
Yes, yes. Would you say that holidays are more intense than, say, other times of years when it comes to grief?
And that's a good question. I think we have anniversary dates, obviously, where that can really be a trigger for people. It might be a birthday, an anniversary. Holidays, though, we all are experiencing a time where it's supposed to be joyful and festive. And if you are in grief, you just may not feel that way at all. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that and realize that during holiday time, if you're not feeling that joy and that festive feeling that we normally feel during the holidays, it's okay. Just allow yourself to really experience that full range of grief because it's there.
What can make us seem like it's not? Like
That the grief is not
the
there.
grief is not there, and then all of a sudden it's there. That happened to
Yeah.
me yesterday when I was
And
talking to somebody, and we were talking about the hurricane, and all of a sudden I noticed this sadness, and I'm like, "Where did that come from?" I thought we were moving forward, and then, but it's there,
right.
and
And
it's
grief
almost like a trickery of I thought you were like moving on.
and that happens to us because grief comes and goes like that wave. And one minute we can say, no, hey, I'm feeling pretty good. I got this. And then the next minute we're just falling apart. An example of that, I was having a dinner party. It was the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and I was excited and I was about ready to have my guests come. And I had about 10 people. I had the table set, I was dressed, and all of a sudden I just teared up. And I thought, what is going on? And then it hit me, Archie's not here. They're his friends, his dog friends were coming. And I just got this incredible wave of sadness that came over me, just like you, Tammy, telling me about your loss. So the loss stays with us, even though we really are healing. These waves come and they can come out of the blue when we're least expecting it, like what happened to me that night. So we just have to take a few deep breaths and realize this is going to happen. It could just be a trigger from nowhere, except again, that full range that this is going to happen. And especially if it's in that first year, maybe it's the second year or the fourth year or the 10th year, but we're still going to get those triggers. And we just have to honor where we are in the grief process because there is no good, bad, right or wrong way to grieve.
You know, a couple of things. I've gotten a question not too long ago is what do you do when the grief never goes away? And that's what you're kind of addressing here is it really doesn't. And it comes in different phases and different, would you say grief has a tone to it?
Absolutely. And we can have so many different ranges of emotions, just like we do during the holidays. And that tone can be, again, one minute you can be fine, and then something may trigger, something may set you off, and you'll have a flashback or a memory that's very much with you. And that tone is set. And you have to say to yourself, you know what? It's okay. Grief is our companion. It stays with us. And the most important thing, not just during the holiday season, but at any time, is to really allow yourself to experience that full range of grief and understand that you're going to have these emotions come and go, and that's okay. Just allow yourself to experience in your own individual and unique way. It's your grief, it's nobody else's, it's yours. You might have a family member that you've lost, and you may be grieving totally different than, say, a sibling or a parent or an aunt or an uncle, but that's yours. And you have to honor that and know that that's okay, however you're experiencing it. Yeah.
Or what if people around you don't honor that?
Yeah.
What do you recommend?
Ah, yes. And that happens sometimes.
Like, aren't you over that? Really?
Yeah,
It's been a
exactly.
year. You've
Exactly.
gotten another dog now,
Yeah. I think people have very good intentions, but
Mhm.
if they haven't really experienced that full range, or they're not walking in your shoes.
Yeah.
So don't ever tell people that they understand your grief. They don't have to understand your grief. Whatever other people think of your grief is none of your business, right? And you have to be able to share, hey, this is my grief and you can't walk in my shoes. And don't be afraid to say that, because you're in a year of losing traditions and asking yourself, well, now what? What do I do now? How do I navigate this? I have no idea. And people are telling me what to do. Don't let anybody tell you how to grieve. That's your grief.
So many things are popping up. What would you say grief's purpose is?
Mm. I think it's
What's
to
its
teach us.
job?
Yeah. The more that we love, the deeper we love, the deeper we grieve. And I think it's here to teach us, number one, love never dies. Love goes on. Death, we've been taught in our society, is final, but it's really not. Just ask for signs for your loved ones. That right there tells us a lot,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
they're just in a different realm. They're not physically here. However, they're with us. And the more we ask for those messages and those signs from our loved ones, and we're open, Tammy, you taught me that.
Mhm.
Those signs and messages do come. We just have to be open and allow it.
Yeah, absolutely. I also noticed that, especially with, well, I guess with human or animal, people tend to look for certain signs. Well, we want a list. It's a feather, whatever it is. All right. So we got our basic list, but the ones that are the most meaningful are the ones that are the out of the blue. Only you would have known that. Like it's almost like this secret code between you.
Yes.
I was telling the story just recently of a client who was super upset about her dog passing, and she was really upset that she hadn't been receiving the signs that she wanted to receive. And she had a whole list of, I want this and this and this and this. I'm like, what have you been receiving? And she told me about these two or three incredibly detailed, specific to her kind of signs. And the sad part is, she wouldn't have any of it. She said, oh, that's not it. And I'll know when I get this particular list. So I find in those cases, our lack of openness and willingness to expand into that space rather than shut down sucks the air right out of the room. And so do the messages, and so do the signs. They go right
Bye
up.
bye.
Spirits like, I'm out of here.
And
Um,
that is so true. And one of the ways that we can be more open is just to practice our own, what I like to call extreme self-care. Really care, especially if you are going through grief and it's very raw. Take care of yourself first. It
how did you
may
do that with Archie when he
with
passed?
Archie.
How
One
did
of
you do that?
one of the things that I did a month later, well, I did a lot of writing. I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. It was such an emotional time. We all know, we've all experienced grief, and it's so hard to lose a beloved animal. So I did a lot of writing those first 3 weeks, I would say. That was a very, what would the word be? It was like a hidden gem in there of my writing, and it just came through me. I wrote to him. He wrote back. We had a dialogue going. And I would suggest to do that with your pet that you
Mhm.
lost, or even your loved one, whether it be pet or human.
Right.
And it's amazing what comes through you. And I found that to be very helpful. The other thing I did, I traveled and I went to Portugal to see a friend. And I'll share a little story if you don't mind. I
And before you do that, weren't you putting that travel off?
Yes, I
Okay,
didn't want
that's
to
what I
leave
thought.
him.
Right.
I just would not leave him. So
Mm.
I put the travel off, and then I let my friend know that he had passed. And she was wonderful, compassionate, and she said, "Come on over." And so I flew to, she lives on the island of Madeira in Portugal. And lo and behold, that week she was studying for an exam to pass a Portuguese test. And that was very important to her. So she was really quite busy, and I didn't want to bother her. So I did a lot of walking. And one evening I went out on a walk, and it was still daylight. And in the distance, I saw what I thought looked like two yellow labs, and Archie was a yellow lab. And I was in the height of grief still a month later. And I felt, as much as I was loving Portugal, I felt very lonely and very sad, and I was missing him terribly. So I'm walking, and faster I walk up toward these labs. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to want to pet the dogs. These people don't speak or they don't speak English. They probably just speak Portuguese. So I just looked, and I was starting to well up in tears because the dogs were precious. And I kind of motioned, "Can I pet your dogs?" They spoke in English. And I was telling them the whole story. And so I think one of the things that you can do to navigate your loss is reach out, talk to people, tell your story. And these ladies were so kind and compassionate. I pet the dogs, and we talked, and they said, "We can't even imagine." And I said, "I used to say that." And after we finished our conversation, one of the things they said was, "Well, we were actually going to walk the other way." And I thought, I just got chills, and I thought, Archie has sent them to me because he knew I was hurting and grieving. And it was a beautiful experience. And the nights thereafter, I was still in Portugal. I walked out and I would look for them. I didn't see them again, but I said, that's okay, because he brought these beautiful souls to me to ease my pain. So
Earth
always,
Angel.
earth angels, always feel free to reach out and talk to somebody about your grief. That's so important.
You know, what I'm hearing when I was, you were talking was connect, connect, connect.
Yes.
Like we can feel so isolated.
Grief
And
is
the other
very
piece
isolating.
that came through that I saw when you were talking um, is kindness. I think they touched you with kindness, and you mentioned it
Passion.
earlier about self-care, and we've got to be kind to ourselves during this time, and we can be impatient with our grief, and others can be impatient with us.
Absolutely. And it's so important too to just, one of the things you can do is also go for a walk every day. And if you can, get out in nature, talk to your loved one. I
Mhm.
ask my
Mhm.
dogs to come walk with me every day.
Absolutely.
And it's just
Absolutely.
so helpful. And I'll just say, come on, guys, let's go walk.
Mhm.
And getting out in nature can be very healing. It's very soothing. So just get out, get your body moving, get your mind going, your emotions. Because if we sit in isolation, and I'm not saying that you're not going to have those moments where you do that, and that's okay. Just be aware that you've been through a lot and you have to be very kind to yourself. And just getting outside and walking in nature is so healing. I do it every day. And thank God, because it really helps me. And
Oh,
that's
it moves energy. It keeps things
absolutely.
flowing. Mhm.
Keep walking, and try to get in nature as much as you can. Okay.
Mhm.
And maybe when you go to bed at night, ask yourself, what are 3 things that I did today that felt good? It might be
Mhm.
just, I got a hot shower, or I took a nice Epsom salts bath, or I got out in nature, or I spoke with a friend. Just whatever feels good for you, but connect. That is so important during the grief process.
Totally. And we have some interesting comments. I really appreciate people sharing. Claire said, I feel like my grief is ever present, even 5 years on. It has a low-lying ever presence that lives with me as a constant companion. And that's what you were referring to.
Yes, yes. And that's not that unusual. It
Yeah.
stays with us, just like Tammy, what you were describing with the
Mhm.
loss of your sister. You don't
Mhm.
ever get over a
Mhm.
loss of that magnitude. The grief does stay with you. However, remember that your grief is helping you heal. Always don't lose sight of that. Grief is healing. Tears are healing.
Yes, it's like a river that's flowing. It's a deep river, and it brings up lots of other pieces that you might you hadn't thought about in years. And so I've always said grief's kind of that cluster emotion where we have a whole, it's like a bucket, and you can look around and see what's in your grief bucket. Everybody who's watching is agreeing. Susie said it's never over throughout a lifetime. And Claire again says, grief, the depth of your love with nowhere to go except to spirit now. I wonder, and I've got some more comments I want to address, but I want to ask you something. In your experience with grief with people, is there more significance to losing a human as opposed to losing an animal friend? Is a grief different that you've seen?
I think grief is grief. And we go through, many of you, I'm sure, are aware of Kubler-Ross's stages of grief, the denial, where the shock, you just feel that this didn't really happen. It's so surreal. Some people might get angry at themselves or angry at God. The depression that creeps in, the sadness, that's very normal and natural. I don't know so much about bargaining. Sometimes we try to say, well, if I did this or I didn't do that, and then finally we get to acceptance. That doesn't mean that the grief has gone away. It just means that we're learning to live with it. And in terms of a pet versus a human, I've had so many people say to me, it's harder losing a pet than a human. And why is that? I think so often, and I know you have plenty of answers, it could be that they give us nothing but love. We don't have issues with our pets like we do with our humans. It's such an incredible bond. And so the grief may be deeper losing a pet because they're with us basically 24/7. And all they have is us. We are their world, and it's unconditional love. We all know that. And I'm assuming people who are tuning in have animals or had animals.
Our hearts are undefended with animals. Even the gruffest of people can meet up with an animal and they turn into like this melted like blob of heart. It's so sweet when you see that. It's like, oh, you were so gruff.
And you hear about animal therapy programs in prisons.
Yes.
It has changed prisoners.
Yes.
having
Yes.
Animals.
Yeah, I mean, I think with animals, a lot of people, that's their primary relationship because
Yes.
perhaps they don't trust people in their lives. They've been hurt by them. Our animals see the light of us all the time. They look straight at us, and it feels so good. They flood us with that, and so it's a terrible like gaping hole when they go because we can trust them a lot of times more than we can trust humans.
Absolutely. Your heart is so shattered and there is such an emptiness. And I know I still tear up and I miss him so much. And he brought me, Tami knows this, the gift of a little puppy that's his niece. And she's 6 months. And I'm so very, very grateful. It's helped fill that void. Yet you don't ever replace as you say, Tami, it's a soul family.
It is. It is. There's a whole animal network out there. I'm just saying, and they will guide another one to you and influence. It's just like you talk about the social media influencers. We got the animal influencers, the soul influencers, and they will influence that next soul coming in, passing the baton. Okay, the time period I had with you, you've changed. I've grown. Time to keep growing, and here's the next Archie 2.0, right? We've got the
and what they teach us. It's what we learn from our animals.
We have a Trista said, as my beautiful boy was fine 1 minute and then was gone in the next. Tomorrow will be 3 months since I lost him, and I'm dying here and can't get over him and looking for him everywhere. Being home is torture. I miss him so much. The depth of the grief, it's almost indescribable.
Again, the more we love, the deeper we grieve. And it's an awful, awful feeling. And it's very raw. 3 months is
It feels like it's going to be there forever. And this is just our new norm. This is who we are now. I know I have felt like that.
Yeah.
And do you think people, were a little afraid if we feel it again and we say, "Oh, I thought I was over there," we're afraid it's gonna, like, set in again and we won't be able to, like,
Mhm. I think just honoring that
not
relation.
fighting it.
Yeah. And accept this is how I'm feeling right now. This is where I am. And I have to honor myself, honor my loved one, and have those beautiful memories of what was. And I know for me, I don't think about Archie's passing. I just don't go there. I think about the 14 and a half years of pure joy, of love, of happiness. And then I have a smile on my face and the purpose of being in each other's lives. And that helps me to be able to move forward in a way that I can honor him. And
Exactly, exactly. Yes.
and that helps me. So again, do we get over that loss? No, we don't get over it. Don't expect to get over it. And once again, like we said a little while ago, if anybody tells you, well, hopefully you never hear it was just a dog or it's just a pet. Hopefully that never happens. If it does, that person doesn't have a soul because it was your family, your loved one, and you don't get over it. You heal and you again move forward in a way that honors your loved one. And just if you can remember that and hold that in your consciousness, that this love did not die. It's still very much there. It's very present. So moment by moment, live in that present and think about what you gave each other. And that is healing.
That's beautifully said. I feel like sometimes we freeze that last piece. I had a vet tell me one time that, he could work with somebody for a whole lifetime of a pet, but they're going to remember the last thing when they leave that parking lot. So if that's where we've, had to assist in their passing, that's what's kind of stuck in our minds. So I love that you shared that you didn't, you don't focus and dwell on his passing. And animals have shared with me, it kind of throws away their whole life with us. And we do that. And it's natural to like think something went wrong. And Trista, I know you said that he was fine one minute and then gone the next, and it's shocking. It's like, how can that be? How can life change so suddenly? You were here one minute, now you're not, and our identity, it's a soul, soul quake is what I call them. Like you were in one, and so how you feel is very appropriate to what that loss was. And I was thinking this morning that I wondered, and I don't know if I've worked through this completely, but it dawned on me when our animals come into our lives, they always come in at transition points for us. We may not realize it at a time. Perhaps they're coming in ahead of something that's going to happen that we don't know about. That's happened with me. Or there's this need that we have, or we're heading into some soul lessons, or all the above, right? I mean, it's a number of things. But I'm wondering if how do I word this, the significance of the moment they came in and what we were going through in our life makes that grief even more when they leave, because they came in at that significant juncture point.
Yeah. And that is so true because they do come in then. And then when they exit, we're left with, again, like we said earlier, now what? How do I even begin to navigate this? And I think it's important to be able to share stories about your pet with others, especially others who get it. And people who have pets, they really do get it. They understand. Most likely you've been through other losses with pets, some more significant than others, some that go quickly, suddenly. I think is even harder because
Yes.
you didn't have that anticipatory grief. It just is one day they're here, the next day they're not. With an older animal that you know will be leaving at some point in the near future, you have that anticipatory grief. You have some preparation. An animal that leaves suddenly, you didn't have that preparation, and it's devastating. And
And I've had that with my animals, leaving suddenly. And, we talk about the stages of grief. I was like, I didn't get the memo. And by the way, this threw me into a total chaos. What were you thinking? As if that makes sense. I know that's not even logical. As if they owed me a, hey, I'm going to be leaving kind of
yeah,
thing. But it's this chaos, this inner chaos that we go into. And then, they're out and there you are holding the bag.
yeah,
I
I'm
get
still here.
uh-huh. And I, and I'm we're disoriented. We're trying to find pieces of ourselves. Who was I before?
Exactly.
Who am
Wow.
I now?
Yeah.
So it's this restructuring, rebooting. Betsy says it really feels like life just stops. And honestly, I think we prefer it that way in grief because we all know the world keeps spinning. And I think this is a choice we make.
And I think a part of us knows most likely we're going to outlive our pets.
Mhm.
And yet we don't think about that. We want to think about, well, I have him or her now. I have my animal now. I'm going to revel in the beauty of now. And that's
What
what we
feels
need.
so good?
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
Mhm.
And I remember with Archie, I did that all last year. He was diagnosed about a year ago with a mass on his adrenals, and the the doctor wasn't that optimistic. And every single day, I made a vow. I am having him today, and we're doing the best we can for today. I didn't think down the road that would have taken the joy out of the moment. So, my point in saying this is be in the moment. I have him or her today, I have him or her now. And we're going to experience the joy, the holding, the beauty of right here, right now. And I can't tell you how much that helped. Yes, it was devastating when I lost him, just as it would be to you to lose your animal. And yet, when you are in the moment, you're not in the future worrying about it. You're not in the past ruminating. You're right here, right now. And animals, Tammy, I'm preaching to the choir, pick up our energy.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
if we're worrying and distress and distraught, don't you think they know that?
Yeah, they take that on. And so what I'm hearing from you is you made a conscious decision that you were going to appreciate the time you had, and
Yes.
which in turn didn't like project onto him. So he was able, the animals are always in the present moment. So
Mhm.
for you to be able to make a clear intention and have to, you probably had to remind yourself of that though, right? You didn't just make it one day
Absolutely.
and then all of a sudden you were fine. No, you probably had to keep making that choice
I
again
did.
and
It
again.
was a mindful choice. And we
Yes.
also played music together.
Mhm.
And music therapy, I think, is so very important. He loved music, and so do I. I would play a lot of Jim Oliver. If any of you have heard of him, he has a very high hertz, very high vibrational music. And Stephen Halpern does as well. So those are two musicians that I would put on and listen to, and it was very soothing. And I would stroke Archie, and he would just lie down and have a big smile on his face. So music therapy is very important. And if you've lost your animal, play that music yourself. You need your own music therapy.
Mhm.
Again, that nurturing of your soul, of your shattered heart, your broken heart, whatever feels good for you, that's practicing extreme self care, music therapy.
I love that. That's a great suggestion. Um, So Claire says there can be such conflicting feelings of deep grief, but also in knowing that their lives go on, um, ever present in our lives. It feels like a wild seesaw of emotions, not knowing where each day will take you. So that's well worded. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
Mr.
we don't know.
Wild Ride's what it is.
It is because we
Mhm.
don't know where
Mhm.
it's going to take us. And we might wake up one day hey, I'm feeling pretty good. And we might go out for that walk and start talking to our loved one. And
Mhm.
maybe we'll feel better, maybe we'll fall apart, but just do it. And it
Definitely.
can be a walking meditation, or those of you who already practice meditation, a guided meditation on healing or gratitude. Let me say something about gratitude. When you're first in grief, you don't feel gratitude. You
Right.
feel lost. You feel empty. You feel so sad and
Yeah,
devastated.
gratitude feels like it's flown the coop.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So I'm not saying if this is very raw to you to practice gratitude, you're not going to feel like practicing gratitude. However, down the road, you will. You'll look back and reflect and you'll say, I am so very grateful to have
Mhm.
had my beloved in my life.
I can, so what I'm feeling, and I want to get somebody had, Jolene had sent a question in. And so I wanted to take this moment because I can feel the energy of it is, I would love to do this again next week if you're up for it, because I feel like this is a
Love it.
conversation that is just getting going. And, I would love to have some of you on if you need to work through something or you've got a deep piece that you're puzzled about, whatever it is. Would you be in for that?
I certainly would love
Oh,
it.
okay. I thought I'd defer it, and I was like, oh no,
No,
because if you like,
I thought you were talking to the audience.
no, 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 internet trickery. It has been. Okay, well, good. So, if you guys think about it and mark it on your calendar for the 11th, because I think Spirit's just telling me to share that with you so that we can continue the discussion. So I want to get your thoughts on this. Jolene sent in, how can I navigate this grief journey on my own? My family thinks I'm trying to make my daughter's death about me and not her husband and kids. After all, they're the ones who are suffering. It has been 16 long months since my Janie died from breast cancer. Yes, she was married for 18 years, but they don't understand. I've loved her for 43 years and 9 months. She often would say to me that she wasn't afraid to die, but was extremely scared because no one could love her kids as much as she does. I don't mean to belittle my family's thoughts because they're entitled, but I wish they would try to understand that my heart has been ripped out. Not looking for sympathy, just an I'm sorry you're feeling this way. Uh, so I honestly hope that they never have to understand. So, what would you say to Jolene?
Mhm. Well, first of all, I'm very sorry for your loss, Jolene. There is nothing more difficult than losing a child. And we know that in our field. I personally haven't lost a child, and yet I've worked with people over the years who have. And your whole family is going through a horrific grief process. You're all grieving. However, it sounds like you're all grieving in your own way, and that's okay. And what's important is I know it's very easy for people to criticize or give opinions or judge. And that's not what this is about. This is about coming together and healing and honoring your daughter because she was afraid that nobody would love her children like you and or like her. And I know there's nothing greater than a mother child bond. And you have to honor where you are in the grief process and honor your family for where they are in the grief process. It's not easy for anyone. And again, here we are, holiday time. And I'm sure there are triggers and what has come up in the past with holidays. And I think that perhaps maybe you all together could sit down and maybe start a photo album, light a candle. Everybody contribute fresh flowers and build a bouquet. Do something in your daughter's honor
Mhm.
and not fight or bicker. And I know that's a lot easier said than done when you have very strong emotions because, again, the range of emotions are present. And yet,
Yeah.
what would your daughter want?
Mhm. Mm. Well, all of them and all of us, when we've lost, we just want to feel connected to them, right? And when I was hearing you, what I saw visually was everybody in their own grief corner. And so they feel isolated from one another. And we can be in a family unit and we're all separate in our journey with that.
Absolutely.
So it can be the communication can be a little bit challenging, I would say. But I agree with you about the honoring, and I teach this with people for their animals is, you want to talk about animal or people communication with spirit. That's the fastest way in, is to honor, anything, pick something. In fact, I just did a video on that on YouTube of finding peace after pet loss, but it's after any loss. So that raises your vibration, which is where they are. They're at a higher vibration than we are. We're down in the muck of grief, and it's heavy. So that, and we kind of have to keep remembering that I've lost, they're not my life. We have to keep telling ourselves and reminding ourselves. So honoring them actually turns our attention and our energy just enough to where there's a little bit of an opening so healing can start. There's not that stuck piece of being there. Susie says, I have felt some anger. And I think that's honest. Be where you are. And, Susie, what I would say too is, what is your anger saying? It has a voice. All of our emotions have a voice. So whatever you're feeling in regards to grief, ask it. What is it you're trying to tell me? Because there's more to be learned.
And what am I supposed to be learning from this experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if we get angry, for instance, turn to the anger and say, what are you saying? Because you'll get sentences in there like, if I use my sister as an example, well, I've had enough loss. What were you thinking? So that anger to where you didn't give me the memo, the piece where I didn't know it was going to happen, and now I'm in this shock from having to deal with it. So if you could write out what the anger, because anger is just letters we put together and we say it's anger, but what's underneath it? And then it's, I think, where the hidden gold is. It's where the gems are that take us toward healing. Because when we allow ourselves to be, when we hear ourselves, when we hear our own voice, then we feel seen, even if it's because it's seen by us. We'll feel like we're being congruent with ourselves.
Yeah. And what does that look like too? And remember, grief is not linear. You may feel that anger come up, and pay attention to that, and just accept that's where I am. That is anger is such a primitive emotion.
I own it. Yeah, I'm angry.
Yeah, and that's where I am. Right. And allow yourself, because you're going to weave in and out of the different emotions, the different, what we refer to as stages. Yeah. And you have to go through it. In grief, you can't go above it, around it, below it. You have to go through it. And that's where you are right now. And that's quite all right.
Just to, I guess, as a precursor to next week, because I can still feel the energy coming forward with it, is maybe talk about it. What if there are many events that happen and we have a lot of losses at one time? I mean, there's so many aspects to the layers of the grief we feel.
That is so true. There are many layers. Grief has a lot of layers, and we have to really dig down deep. And it's like peeling that onion and get to the core for that healing to occur, and recognize those layers and not knowing when they're going to come.
Yeah. Well, the other thing to be continued is, what if we don't want to heal? What if we want to stay where we are? Thank you much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that happens with people. It's like, I don't want to go out and connect with community. I don't want to see anyone. I don't want to move on. And it's actually a stage too. And if that continues and you stay in that space, you have to ask yourself, how is this serving me? Remember, I'm still here. Is this really serving me? Maybe for now it is, and that's okay. However, down the road, will this serve me? Is this in my highest good? Ask yourself that and see what you come up with.
Mm-hmm. That's really, really beautiful. So in between now and next week, if any of you get to thinking about this, the voice of any grief you might be feeling? What is it trying to tell you? What is it trying to help you with at this time? And what questions would you have that have arisen organically because of this talk? Because I guarantee you, I can feel all of you kind of like working through this. You feel like you're considering it. So yeah, I'd love to hear more. And let's join up next week, the 11th, I believe it is. And hopefully there will be no internet trickery and we'll all get here. I think Mercury retrograde will still be on, but it was retrograding today. So
one of the challenges that we all have to go through as well.
Exactly. Thank you all for joining, and I cannot wait to talk to you again, and let's keep that conversation going. See you next week.
Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you, Connie.
Bye.
Bye.